TUT, there's grotkak, as they say in Afrikaans, there's a problem. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. There's a table which is not giving me a vibe. I'm going straight to that table. If you don't give me the energy back, I'm coming straight for you. This table, no, I can see. Look at them even now. Look at them. Are they giving you positive vibes? They're on the phone. Look at them. Can you tell us, what did you learn this morning, sir? Yeah, let's go. Can't be on your phone here. Let's go. One thing that you learned today, so far. No, you didn't learn ish. Habasha.
Good morning, everyone.
No, you must stand up.
My name is Forward. What I learned today is that we as youth were not exposed to requirements that will take us to achieve everything that we are discussing in here. So I believe that one thing that we need as Africa is to expose young people into requirements that they need to lead them to achieve everything that is needed. Thank you.
Can you give him a round of applause? Guys, I told you, if you want to sit at the back, I'm coming for you. Now in my conferences, you must always sit at the front. You are very protected when you sit at the front. Be at the back, that's what happens. Madam, your key learnings from this morning. What are you expecting to get this afternoon then? Since you're not here, what are you expecting to get this afternoon? I get you came here for a reason. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay.
You need to stand up. You need to stand up.
So what I'm expecting to learn this afternoon, I'm expecting to learn more about the fourth industrial revolution and how young people could be impacted by it and how you can be involved in it. And yeah, I'm waiting to learn more. Thank you.
Say, would you like to help her out? Just help her out. I can see she was shy. Please help her out. Key takeaway from this morning, please. No, there's no passing of the microphone. It comes to you directly. So, your key learning from this morning.
Key learning from
If you don't mind just getting up, sir.
key learning from this morning is that the 4AR is very important for all the industries, and is very critical for us to adopt and take everything which comes with 4IR and try to develop capacity and employment for the young. Thank you.
Can you give him a round of applause? No. That's not a round of applause. Can you give him a round of applause? So, a microphone, people can become scared of a microphone. So on that table, there's that gentleman who ran away. Where's the camera? I want him to be exposed. He ran away. He thought the microphone is coming to him. In fact, I'm going to invite him to the podium. Since he thought he was going to, he's running away again. Running away again. So it's very important that, we get feedback. I'm trying to make sure that everyone is here, present, listening, and all of those good things. Madam, your key learnings from this morning.
I learned the power of collaboration, and I learned how our systems can be improved by us looking at a Pan-Africanist approach instead of thinking of ourselves in a small vacuum as in TUT, Pretoria, Tshwane, Gauteng.
Thank you. Everyone up, please. Up. Let's get up. Everyone up. Otherwise, I'm coming for you. Everyone up. Come, give yourselves a round of applause for coming through. No. Give yourselves a round of applause. No, that is useless. Guys, we are not going to stop up until my demands are met. Give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. I want to see the energy. I want to feel the energy. Come on now. Come on. Let's lift it. Come on. There we go. Welcome back. Yebo. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. You see now? Yeah. You know, this thing, they call it the graveyard shift. You know, people normally are afraid of the graveyard shift and all of those things. Here, we embrace the graveyard shift. Here, we love the graveyard shift. In fact, there is no graveyard shift. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with the program for this afternoon. So, Mr. Brian, where's Mr. Brian? Is he here already? Where is he? Have they mic'd you up, sir? Okay. No, I was just making sure. So we're going to have our first address from the executive head of mobile financial policy and regulation at the Vodacom Group. And his speech is going to be titled, Role of International Remittances as an Economic Instrument for Poverty Eradication in Line with Sustainable Development Goals. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a warm, rousing round of applause? No, do the right thing. No, wait. Sir, please don't get up. Here in this household, we've got rules. If I feel that the applause is not enough, please, you must not get up. Can we give him a proper, warm round of applause? I can't hear you. Come on, let's give him a round of applause. Sir, please come up. Come on, keep it up. Till he gets to the stage, keep it up.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you hear me at the ends? Right. So, as I said, my name is Brian Mudiara. I lead mobile financial policy at Vodacom Group. And I'm sure many of you are wondering what's Vodacom doing in this sort of event. Maybe just some quick highlights on the mobile financial business or the mobile money business that Vodacom runs. We have mobile money operations in 6 countries. As you know, Vodacom operates in 8 countries in Africa, but in 6 of those countries we have a mobile money service known as M-Pesa. And that M-Pesa product or service has about 55 million customers spread across the markets. This is Lesotho, Mozambique, DRC, Tanzania, Safaricom Kenya, and Safaricom Ethiopia. In 6 of those countries, so the spread of these customers is within these countries, and we obviously offer a number of different products, from money transfer, payments, including merchant payments, including government payments, savings, loans, and insurance in partnership with licensed financial institutions in those countries, as well as international remittances, which is what I'm here to speak about. The total value of payments that we process or transactions is roughly around $400 billion as at March of this year, and growing. In each of these markets, we're licensed as a financial services provider, either as an e-money issuer or as a payment service provider. So that's a little bit about Vodacom, and as I mentioned, we do provide international remittances services. But I'll come back to that. Maybe to stay on topic is really just to focus on remittances and remittances in Africa. So what are remittances? I think the word remittances is used rather loosely sometimes to refer to any sort of monies that are coming from abroad into the country. But in the classic sense, remittances are small values of money sent by migrant workers to support their families back home. So this is the sort of like the classic sense in which we speak of remittances and in which I'll be referring to. These payments are distinguished from business payments or investments that migrant workers abroad might be making in their countries, because those are less frequent than remittances. Remittances would typically be sent on a monthly basis or every 2 months or 3 months. So why are remittances in Africa important? They, I think, primarily at the really sort of micro level, help in lifting families out of poverty. A lot of these migrant workers are the main breadwinners of their families, going out to eke a living in another country. They also serve, maybe at the macro level, as important sources of foreign exchange. You have countries like Liberia, where remittances account for about 24% of GDP of the country. Lesotho, closer home, remittances account for 17% of GDP, just illustrating how important remittances are, or how important migrant workers are to these countries. They also help in stabilizing currencies and in balancing the current account of these countries. In terms of remittances to Africa, I think the total value is reported at roughly $100 billion, of which $80 billion flows from outside the continent, and $20 billion flows within the continent. So more of what we call cross-border payments within the continent. But these numbers are grossly underreported. It is estimated that perhaps a similar value, about $100 billion, is transferred across borders through informal means. And this could be your Hawala system, or just any other sort of informal means, sending a relative with the money, and so on. So the opportunity for remittances is quite huge in Africa. In terms of the spread, West Africa is the largest sort of remittance recipient area in Africa, at about 7.6%, followed by East Africa at 6.8%, North Africa at 4.4%, Southern Africa at 3.7%, and Central Africa at 1.4%. So West Africa is the largest recipient area, and Nigeria takes the cake at about 20% of all the remittances that come into Africa, which is about $20 billion. Two other countries also account for huge remittance inflows into Africa. That's Egypt and Morocco. But for these markets, the remittances flow from sort of different directions. From Nigeria, the remittances flow largely from Europe and the US. In Egypt, a lot of these remittances are coming from the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and the like. Morocco is a little bit of a mix, but mostly Europe and the Middle East. One interesting, fact is that Nigeria's remittance flows have been reported at $20 billion for well over 10 years. And the question is, when other countries are reporting higher and higher remittance flows, what's the problem with Nigeria? Is it a case of underreporting, or is it a case of growth in informal means of remittances? So that might be an interesting area for research. Remittance costs. The global average of remittance costs, or rather the cost of sending roughly $200, because $200 is picked as the average amount of remittances when you look at remittance values across different countries. So the World Bank runs some research under the banner of remittance price worldwide, and the average cost of sending remittances globally is about 6.35%. Now, in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 10C, the SDG target is to reduce remittance costs to about 3% of the remittance value by 2030. And we're not far off from 2030, we're just 6 years away. But the global average is twice that amount. So, and this is why remittance is an important topic for us. The topic of today's discussion is really about the role of international remittances as an economic instrument for poverty reduction in line with the SDGs. So how can we bring remittance costs to within the SDG target of 3%. As I said, the average cost of sending $200 is roughly 6.35%. But the same research shows that the cost of sending a remittance of $200 received on a mobile device is about 3.45%. So mobile-enabled remittances have proven to be quite successful in lowering the cost of remittances from your average of, from whatever they were to 3.45%. And if you remove the cost of withdrawal, because when a customer receives the remittance on their mobile device, in their mobile wallet, there's going to be a cost associated with withdrawing that money from an agent outlet. If you remove the cost of the withdrawal, that value, that cost comes down to 2.7%. And there's, we could debate, is there any merit in removing that cost? Are we comparing apples with oranges? For instance, when you look at the cost of sending a remittance using your traditional brick and mortar outlet, like, let's say Western Union to another Western Union outlet and so on. But I believe overall, whichever way you look at it, mobile-enabled remittances have lowered that cost to close to the SDG target. However, the intra-Africa cost of remittances remains the highest. So even if you look at intra-Africa remittances from mobile to mobile, the cost is still very high. And I'll come to the factors that affect the high cost of remittances. Relative to the cost of sending a remittance, let's say from the US or from Europe to Africa. So there's a huge opportunity again for Africans to work towards lowering the cost of remittances within our borders. There's a lot of talk of, integrating Africa as a region through the, African Continental Free Trade Area and so on. But if remittance costs remain high, then, it may be a futile attempt to get ordinary people to transact with their counterparts in other countries. Just as an example, the cost of sending money, and here I'm not talking about mobile-enabled, just using your traditional infrastructure. The cost of sending, money from South Africa to Nigeria is roughly about 20% of the cost of the value. It's about 20% of the value of the remittance. And this comes down to about 10 to 17%, depending on the country you're sending into and the sort of traffic that flows within those two countries. So there's need for adoption of new technologies which can help lower the cost of remittances, such as mobile money or electronic money or fintech payment products. So what are the factors affecting the high cost of remittances? One is restricted competition. In your traditional brick and mortar remittance model, and I'm not trying to throw shade on Western Union, but I think they're the best example. Western Union was known for its exclusive arrangements with its agents, who are typically banks or other licensed institutions. And the biggest problem with that model was that it required exclusivity, and that exclusivity then limited those agents from working with other providers, and that raises the cost of doing business. Secondly, you have underdeveloped financial systems. I mentioned earlier that the share of remittances flowing into places like Central Africa is 1.4% of the total, but this is largely because of the underdeveloped financial systems in that region. And I think you could also, look at individual countries in other regions and sort of identify that as one of the problems. You also have high compliance costs. The cost of complying with AML, anti-money laundering, and CFT or combating the financing of terrorism can also be very high. So those compliance costs go on to the end, the price that the customer pays for sending these remittances. And then there's low transparency around, forex arrangements, the forex margins, and so on. And this low transparency also allows for it provides opportunities for sort of inflating the cost of the remittance. And I think lastly, but certainly not the least, is limited use of new technology or the use of legacy systems. What new technologies have shown us, electronic money systems, mobile money systems, but whatever name we call them, fintechs, is that these technologies have been able to maximize on the economies of scale to lower the cost of transactions. And even as we talk of technology here, we think about things like cloud hosting of data, which also help lower the cost of compliance, for instance, if you had to do transaction screening and all that. So these are just some of the factors affecting the high remittance costs. I think just to sum up, I'll say that for us to sort of catalyze the lowering of remittance costs, there would be need for embracing new technologies, but also creating efficiencies using those new technologies. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
My people. Why are you being like that? No. Don't be those people. We've been together now for almost 2 days, and you understand the rules of this. Now we've got, you guys are exposing our dirty laundry. When you come into a household, it looks nice and shiny from the inside, and then inside's a problem. Can our visitors think, man, hey, the energy levels are there? Can you please give me a round of applause? As we've been doing, a proper round of applause. So up next, so Brian, I think one of the things that in the panel discussion that perhaps I'd like you to focus on, because there is a large, we've been speaking a lot around the Africa that we want, Agenda 2063, NNN. Now you've got all of these member states who have signed to the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and all of those things. Now, this is now, depending on who you speak to, is it 54, is it 55? We'll leave that politics for now. But in your role as head of policy and regulation, how are you able to influence the bigger policy such that there's one view of the continent? That's one of the questions that I'd like you to consider, because when you then have these entrepreneurs who are here, and earlier on there was one of the business people was speaking about the fact that it's more difficult for him to do business and transact in Africa than it is for someone in India to go and do business in Tanzania, right? Now I'm saying that technology has the potential to be a leveler. But equally, you also spoke about the cost, and you are also just building up why the costs sometimes are high from a remittance point of view. But I'm saying that surely technology must be an enabler rather than a disenabler. So in the conversation that you're going to be having with the panel leader, please think about that and please answer that. Now, we're now going to move on to the next speaker, and I'll let him explain why he is here and why the person who's supposed to be here is not here. So he's going to be speaking about the entrepreneurial ecosystem, innovation, technology, and skills to build a resilient entrepreneurial ecosystem to accelerate Africa's inclusive economic growth. Hey, yeah, the people that designed the program, ne? After lunch, it bundles depletes the English. Like, please, you see these long sentences, please, guys, we need to work together here, please. So let's call into the stage Mr. Siyabonga Mthembu. And just to introduce him quickly, so he's an entrepreneur, which is great. So we're not talking theory. An author, a sales coach, vision board facilitator, public and a professional speaker. He's been in business for decades. He's established over 20 businesses in his career. And he refers to himself as a pathfinder because he believes to every challenge that there's a solution. And in inverted commas, he says, we just need to take the initiative and commit to the bettering of humankind. He's developed programs that are designed to promote the culture of entrepreneurship, achieve self-reliance, and create employment opportunities to combat human challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Siyabonga Mthembu. No, Mr. Mthembu, get back down. No, these guys, no. No, come on. No. He's not going to speak, guys, up until you give him. Come on. Where are you? Come on.
Good afternoon. Oh, it's a priceless privilege for me to be standing in front of you today. And, you know, Mr. Bilislikan, if he was here, I know he was going to turn this place around. Most of you were going to leave here motivated. Those who are anti-entrepreneurial were going to leave here having business ideas. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to share with you my journey and why am I here. As a sales coach, I'm not here to sell anything that you don't need, but I'm here to sell what you need the most. Can I see by the show of hands those who agree that effective communication is a root of all successes? So we all agree. So I'm here to sell to you a product that is designed by some of the top public and professional speakers that South Africa has to offer. And this program, it is a program that we believe it will help the black child to be able to communicate effectively the solutions that we have. And in so doing, I understand that sales is one of the skills that we need. We need to be in a position where we understand how to sell ourselves, but in doing so, we need to be effective communicators. The importance of skills is shown in the economy of other countries. Countries like China, USA, they are thriving because of skills that they've invested on. So the more we invest in skills, the more we can compete in the global scale. Now, in sharing the importance of skill with you, I'd like to share a story. And this story is a story of a township or a village in Mpumalanga that is called Nkomati. In Mpumalanga, there was a community that used to live off maize. So they used to harvest maize and then they grind it into maize meal. One day, the machine that they used to use just stopped working. And as the machine stopped working, the king called for the mechanics, people who can be able to come and fix the machine. And he invited different types of mechanics. They came saying, I have the skill to fix this machine. They tried, they failed. They tried, they failed. And the person who used to fix this machine was an old man who had invested previously in his son, and he was taking him to courses so that he can learn how to speak effectively. And the young man came forward. After a long trial and error, people trying to fix the machine, the young man said, my king, I can be able to fix this machine. And the king said, but you are too young. How can you fix it while people who are older than you were not able to fix it? But the young man was well-spoken to a point that he was able to convince the king to give him a chance. And the king said, if you fix this machine, I'll give you whatever you want. The young man said, thank you, sir. And the young man surveyed the machine for a couple of minutes. And he bent and he turned on a screw. After turning a screw, he asked that, can you please switch on the machine? When the machine was switched on, it started working. And he said, my king, for the work that I have done, I'll charge you $5,000 US. And the king said, no, you can't charge me that amount. I just saw you bending, and you just turned the screw. How come you charge me that ridiculous amount? And the young man said, I'm charging you $1 for turning the screw, but I'm charging you $4,999 for knowing which screw to turn. Thank you. This is what can help us to compete at a global scale, when we know that there are skills that only us have, and these are the skills that can help us to be able to present ourselves. So as we have entrepreneurs here, and those who are yet still looking for employment, I would say to you, skills is one of the most important things that we need to learn. As an author, my latest book is titled Rising from Unemployment. As I was doing my research, I noticed that one challenge that we are facing is skills problem. We don't have enough skills that are required in the global scale. So if we could invest in skills, and today the skill that we are bringing to you, remember I'm here to sell you something, the skill that we can invest in today is the skill of effective communication. If we can learn the ability of communicating our thoughts, our ideas, we'll be in a position where we can compete in a global scale. So Global Speakers Academy is here today. Our stall is outside. We are there to offer you opportunities. We help from the general public all the way to the CEOs, because public speaking is one of the terrifying challenges that people are facing most of the time. So with that being said, thank you so much. You will pardon me, say I'm part of Toastmasters, so we wait for the MC to come before I leave. We do not leave the throne unattended. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
No. I was held up by the camera lead. I guess this is the boss. Imagine now, I do these photo bombs. Like, no. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please give it up once again?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. So as he said, outside there is the stall, and really, I mean, public speaking is at all levels. By the by, public speaking is scary at all levels, right? So do not be confused and think that the people that you see here confidently speaking, they don't get nerves. No, believe you me, he was nervous even when he was coming here. Believe you me. But the skills that you learn help you to mask your nervousness. That's the key thing. So don't think he's a supernatural. Don't think I'm a supernatural. No. You just learn the skills on how do you mask and make sure that you show up every single time consistently. Let's move on. Waking the sleeping giant. This is the next topic that we're going to be speaking about. And Waking the Sleeping Giant is about capacitating the informal sector via emerging technologies. And for that, we've got Mr. Vusi Ndebele, who is the project specialist at W&R CETA. Can we please, come on now, can we, no, he's not going to come up. No, come on, guys. Hey, at the back, I can't hear you. I cannot hear you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So happy to be around here. My name is Vusi Ndebele, as the gentleman just introduced me. I come from W&R CETA. Have I just switched myself off or on? And tell you what, at W&R CETA, what makes me happy to be here is that we love telling our story. And you wouldn't love telling your story if you are not doing what your minister is expecting you to do. But where is my presentation? Is it going to be flight on there? Yes. Oh, thank you. So just to start off with is saying, who is W&R CETA to start off with? So we are one of the 21 sector education and training authorities in the country. And as you can see, the name, the CETAs were actually established to be sector specific. Ours, we take care of the wholesale and retail industries. And what do we do really? Maybe if we were just about to say, before we even say what do we do, where do we get the money to do that? This small infographic will tell you that according to the Skills Development Act, from the salary bill of the companies when they pay their taxes, including insurances like UIF, Pay-as-you-earn and the rest, they will also be paying the Skills Development Levy, which is also governed under the Skills Development Act. So that levy, if you see how we actually breaking it down, we'll say 70% of those grants, as it says out there, will actually be for the mandatory grants as well as for the discretionary grants, which we offer through applications to companies and all other type of entities who actually qualify for those type of discretionary grants. So the other 30%, which we, from the money that we actually receive from the Department of Finance, then goes through the National Skills Fund, being 20, and the 10% is for the administration of the CETA. starting from paying for the building up to paying for the person who works for the SETA. That is what it actually will do. And I had to include this because we really believe on living our values. We would not be where we are collectively, more than 300 of us in the organization, if we don't hold hands together and say, we have the public out there who's actually expecting us to deliver. And these are the values that actually guide us when it actually comes to that. So accountability, agility, integrity, and trustworthiness, mutual respect, quality of service or quality services. Moving further on to our values and down into saying what do they really entail. We love that one of exceeding your expectations. The programs that we offer at Wholesale and Retail SETA, if you see the SETA landscape, is almost the same thing, but just sector specific, and the budgets might not be the same, so will be the rates as well as the different occupations within the different training authorities. And on this one here, let us look on the very first one there, which says small and micro enterprise support, entrepreneurship development, rural and cooperative development. Yes, we also do have career guidance, TVET capacitation, retail management development program, which is a program we have developed, and we have the institutions of higher learning who then provide those. And our bursaries, they start from NQF 5 all the way up to PhD level for people who work in the sector. But we also do offer bursaries for people, thank you very much, for people who are studying at university or TVET college. And at undergrad, we say NQF 5 to NQF 7. When you are at university, you are able to apply through the Bursary Administration Office. But if you are doing your NCV programs or your N4 to N6 programs, you could also be able to apply for ours through the similar office at the TVET college. So that is our stakeholders out there. SMEs are also part of that. And right at the bottom, I also have to just point out that it says trade union, NGOs, NPOs, and cooperatives. Ladies and gentlemen, if we were just to look back at the beginning when SETAs were established, when they were sitting there at NASREC, it was business, different stakeholders, which included community organizations. It included employer organizations, then it included sector-specific associations, then it also included the actual people who pay these levies that fund these SETAs, who are the employers. Hence, you find that SETA's board of directors can have a representative from organized labor as well as community organization, because it has to encompass skills development for every person in the country at different levels and having different rates. So if we just go slightly into the SME programs and say, what is it that we do? The very first one that we have out there for the SMME is the skills development grants. We say we have up to 9,500 that is provided per registered entity on what we'll call non-pivotal grants. So that 9,500 rand would be then divided into saying 3,500 covers the cost of training, which is the management and delivery of the program. Then the 6,000 rand will cover infrastructural and stock of the SME entity that we are providing. Over the years, it has been provided using a prepaid debit card, but now it is done through a training provider who is contracted to train those entities or SMEs, wherein they take the needs analysis of those organizations as well as the quotations by the staff and then provide to them. And whilst we're also looking at that, you will also find that we have one where specifically is targeting young entrepreneurs, meaning who are youth, not over 35, wherein we say the EDP Entrepreneurship Development Program, where we provide the grant, the mentorship, as well as an accredited skills program related to venture creation or small business management. And looking at how much was provided in the previous financial year, it is that much of companies that we were able to do. So it is 3 types that we had at that time. And those 3 categories, this is how much we did. If we look at Gauteng, the number of Gauteng is highlighted just because we're presenting in Gauteng, but we have to divide that Gauteng number by 2 because there's so many employers in the province. WNR-CETA established Gauteng South Provincial Office as well as Gauteng North Provincial Office, meaning the Gauteng numbers there should be divided by 2 to see which, because it's equally spread across them. I will run fast on this one, but for us to provide what is relevant to every stakeholder out there, there are ways of collecting this data for us to see what do our stakeholders expect of us. And also for us to be able to express to them that, yes, you might like us to provide you this, but that name there says Training Authority, meaning to the Department of Higher Education, we should be able to justify why we pay for item X. So when we collect the data, it's not only about finding out their needs, but also about clarifying and who is there. So we have CAO Roundtable, which started on the 23-24 financial year. CAO Roundtable is when the Chief Executive Officer or COO, if delegated to do the function, meet with stakeholders from different sectors, wherein he will say, in Gauteng province, I will see all of them according to their categories on different days. So there's a day in Gauteng wherein he will be doing that roundtable, let's say for higher education, meaning training providers, whether it is TVET, it is a public, it is a private university, it is a CET, whichever it is, then that is for higher education institutions. Then there will be one for SMEs. Then there will be one for small and medium employers. Then there will also be one for your large employers. What that does, it actually gives the CEO much more value in data and information because he is involved in there more than what we would do on the next one, which is our sector skills plan, which we collect data from the annual training plan and workplace skills plan which companies provide. So that we also call it the Annex 2 document. So the data that comes from the annual sector skills plan is data that is extracted from what the employer would have put when he was doing his annual training report. Let us look at an example and say in retail, if all employers do not report how difficult it is to find a data analyst, then on our SSP we will not be able to include it because when they put in that information, they have not included as an occupation which is hard to fill, saying it really does take time to fill a position of a data analyst. But to support the SSP, what is also done, there will also be a review and engagement session whereby we're saying, guys, from what you've collected on the Annexure 2 document, let us just find out, as we discussed now, to say, how do we improve the industry? What are the real issues when it comes to filling these occupations? What occupations do you see popping up to be a demand within your businesses? Because as you are out there, we only just get into contact with training and development within your organization and a few other executives, but there may be more to it than what we get out of that. So, also on the research part, we have, this year we hosted our research conference, which we do our Africa Retail Chair project. And our theme for this year was, say, embracing digital disruption and the future of work, charting a course for success in the wholesale and retail sector. So already in our research, we had something which we thought it is just getting closer to what we are talking about here. So on that, we make discussions by experts who understand how to actually intersect technology, workforce transformation, as well as the strategy of the business. Because all in all, SETA can offer money to train people and have occupations available for the sector, but the strategy of the business actually decides. A good example is saying, we could fund a graduate internship of a person with, let us say, with a bachelor's degree. He gets 12-month workplace experience with an organization and contracted with us that we pay the stipend to the company to assist that graduate on his internship for the 12 months. But the strategy of the organization will then tell to say, this organization by next year, who do they need? I'm not talking about the name now of saying, out of all the occupations we have as a business, do we really need 4 data analysts or we need 1? And their strategy will also tell that from being a graduate intern to be an employed person in the organization, which steps to follow. The strategy comes from their HR policies, meaning WNR SETA cannot say, Mr. Company, Retailer X, you have to employ Usipo after graduate internship. So the company strategy will actually work in there. So to say what is their recruitment strategy and following from there. If we were just to go and say yes, broader, the WNR SETA offers quite a number of projects and interventions being funded, but for the informal sector, what do we do? I'm just looking at this one here for 117 informal traders who were trained on a program last year. And after finishing their non-pivotal grant program, the WNR SETA then offered them to say, we have just signed a partnership with Zitech University from Kenya, wherein they were provided further training and mentorship by that university together with the University of Witwatersrand. And the use of technology which was used there was an online meeting system and online submission of the coursework and that kind of stuff. It was not really easy because informal traders, they say, but my business does not even require me to have a laptop. Why do you have to take me through this course? So the course was designed that it could also be done even through the phone as well as through a tablet. But it had to be done online, and there were also physical attendance with the University of Witwatersrand. So that was the program with Zitech, and the use of technology to share documents, course material, and everything was applied on that. So those are the institutions that the WNR SETA then partnered with to see to it that it actually do happen, and we consider it to have been a success. Okay, getting back to those non-pivotal grants for SMEs or informal traders, they come in different categories. That 9,500 is also there. That one was looking for 3,000 across the country, meaning if I were to divide it into the 10 provincial offices, we're looking at around 300 per province. And for the SETA to reach target, if it is over by 2 in Limpopo, it is fine because it means maybe somewhere where there is less appetite would be able to fill in that, but based on what was the budget provided, it is that. So that is your category A, and you also have your category B, where that is about skills development providers. Now, for them to also be able to get a piece of the pie, because in this business of skills development, it is not only the colleges or the universities who provide this. There is training providers who are accredited on specific training programs for which they have to do. Same with providing programs for SME sector. And the business support grant that actually comes with that category is 5,500, and it is really meant to assist the organization or that small entity with stock as well as any equipment that they might need. Yes. Yeah, I must say an iPhone for 16,000 is not a business need. But yes, if you want to buy a computer somewhere because your business needs it and it comes to about 2,000, it's a totally different case. But iPhone with a 2-digit number next to it for 16 or 20,000 just cannot. It's unaffordable, unsustainable. And also the other one does the same thing, that it's up to 9,000 Rand. 3.5 plus that 5.5 for stock or business equipment. This is the EDP as well. It's almost similar, but if you look at the funding that is provided on there, it is slightly different than what we have. And the programs is what I mentioned earlier, your small business owner, business practice, or business management, so as to assist them in running their businesses. Informal traders and micro-enterprise development is also another one. Also that one comes as 3,000 of them, and the nature of the business should be that spaza shop or tuck shop owners, street traders, digital or online traders. So that 7,500 Rand is also there, also wherein it's 4.5 for management and delivery and 3,000 Rand for each informal trader participating for the stock and business infrastructure provision. Remember, we also said that community organizations are important in the training space, and there will be those who register their organizations as NGO, cooperative, NPO, but they are in the business of retail in the nature of what they provide. And companies registered that will be able to apply for that. We have interventions which are provided through the Special Projects Office. Special Projects Office is an office which is within the office of the Chief Operating Officer. It says, if a community or a stakeholder or an organization want to implement training related to our sector or to upskill our sector, or the objectives thereof will be bringing improvement within wholesale and retail. So special project can look into that proposal and be able to fund it. The very first one that we have on top there, it says Township Digital Market Access Skills Program. Yes. So the British High Commission here in Pretoria applied for funding of this because what they wanted to do was to say, we do have informal traders, but WNR-CETA, can you just assist us on training them and putting them on these online and e-commerce trading platforms? So provide digital skills to 200 township SMEs to enhance their businesses, and 850,000 rand was the cost of the project. And another one right next to that is solar panels for a TVET college on all campuses. This was to say, okay, if you have young entrepreneurs in your vicinity as a TVET college, but we have an electricity problem in the country, and we also have a problem of money. So if CETA does get sort of a permission of saying, we are a training authority, but now we want to assist a training institution to be sustainable, whether lights are on or off. That is what we did on the, with Tshwane South TVET College, and we also have done something almost similar on the very last one. I'm going to come to number 3, wherein it was ICT infrastructure for community education and training colleges. These CET colleges are mostly in areas which are classified as rural in South Africa, and they are open to communities around where they are for them to be able to have access to skills which are provided out there. So the CET development project which has been done, it's worth about 50 million. It says development of 52 ICT labs in the country, yes, for 9 CET colleges. So you say 9 colleges, but 54, yes. Yes, it happens. We have some with more than one campus, and we provide as such. And what we also been doing over the past few years is that when there are workshops which has an objective of developing the skills of informal traders, those workshops, they cost money. WNR-CETA has accepted and welcomed a request for funding for those. So that one that is mentioned on there is the BRICS 4th Industrial Revolution 4IR Youth Summit, wherein it was attended by 500 people. And on that, it also has a platform of assisting and exchanging the best practices within the BRICS countries. Okay. 1 minute left. Okay. This is my close of one. We are looking at the demands of the sector as a whole, both for the informal traders, even for the one person who might be at school now who will be employed, whether he'll be employed by an informal trader or he will be employed by a big retailer. We look at it and saying, well, that collection of data that we're saying we do has actually told us that the occupations that we need as of today and the future are those. So over and above the normal annual bursary program, an additional one has now been established, which is strictly looking at ICT qualifications, as you see of those. And also, for barriers of entry, we also look at it and saying, there might be someone who say, I want to do a 1-year NQF 5 program And that's what I want. So we provide him for that as a start, which is why we say NQF level 5 to 7. So this one is an additional from what we provide on our bursaries for the broader qualifications and occupations within our sector. So I'd look at information system, control system, communication systems, hardware, software development, computer network, and cybersecurity. With that, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, do the right thing, guys. Do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. So, Mr. Ndebele, please excuse me now for rushing you. The reason why is because I want us to have some time to interact with the crowd. So that's why I want to push us forward. So we're now going to move on to our next speaker, and this is really the last speaker, Ms. Marissa Jacob, and she's the managing director of Expat Web, and she heads up expatriate services. Her areas of speciality include South African work permits, especially for employers with large group of expatriates, which requires short-term employment service visas, unique dispensation of special waivers, or work permit conditions. I need that, by the by. Her solution-based services extend to operating and managing a confidential payroll for various expatriate groups, obtained various SARS tax directives and rulings, reserve bank clearances for expatriates, foreign bank account payments, and is passionate about finding more streamlined solutions. She's also custodian of the annual critical skills survey amongst large corporates and multinationals, informing business and government of the latest skills shortages and the extent to which expatriates are leveraged to address these shortages. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give a warm, rousing round of applause for Ms. Marissa Jacobs? No. Come on now, come on. She's the last speaker, guys. You can do better. No, you can do better. Come on. Come on.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Is my sound on? There we go. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Andile, for the very warm welcome. As you've said, I am going to be presenting today specifically around, there we go, migration and the internationalization of jobs. I thought what I'd do is I'd start off today by showing a bit of migration data. I see the screen at the bottom is not working. Do I just work off of here? Perfect. So the migration data globally. So if we look at expats working abroad, what are the top 10 and the top worst countries to work in as an expatriate? What does the data show? So if we look at the top 10 best countries to work in as a foreign national, Panama, Mexico, Indonesia, Spain, Colombia, Thailand, Brazil, Vietnam, Philippines, UAE. I think that might be surprising to some. Even more surprising is the bottom-ranked countries for expats. Kuwait, Turkey, Finland, Germany, Canada, Norway, Italy, Malta, Ireland, UK. I think if you look at that, it's quite surprising to see how many of the first world countries rank bottom versus other countries. Then how does South Africa stack up in terms of a destination for expats to come and work in? We rank the lowest out of all the measured countries in terms of safety and security. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. The ranking is pulled down by personal safety and political stability, both of which are also dead last, 53rd on the list. Additionally, the country is weighed down by travel and transit subcategory, ranked 52nd. This is due to poor affordability and availability of public transport. And then nearly 2/3 of the respondents, 65%, agree that it's not easy nor safe to get around in South Africa by foot or bicycle, versus 13% globally. Let's look at some of the positive metrics for South Africa. It is based in the Personal Finance Index, rating 18th, as well as housing 9th, and leisure 10. General cost of living places us at 15th, and the disposable household income being adequate for a comfortable lifestyle, where we ranked 19th. Impressively, 73% of expatriates in South Africa report that their disposable income is sufficient or more than enough, exceeding the global average of 70%. Usually when I present to big business, I say to them, when you look at this, don't let your expats tell you that they're not being paid enough. The data shows that they are. Subcategories, environmental and climate, ranked 16th, which is not surprising. Healthcare ranked 23rd, and then the natural environment ranks 3rd, with climate and weather 5th. Also not surprising. The Europeans love to come here for our sunny weather and love to stay even longer. This is just a bit of an infographic which shows that data and South Africa ranking 29th out of the 54 countries that were on this survey. Then I'm going to move my focus to South Africa specifically in terms of our immigration regime and how foreign nationals get to South Africa and contribute to the economy. In South Africa, we've got 3 main categories of work visa. Firstly, the critical skills work visa, then the general work visa, and then the intra-company transfer work visas. There's, of course, a couple of subcategories that also allow work, but when you're talking to business, this is the 3 main categories that we look after. I'm not going to unpack intra-company transfer visa too much. That is for multinationals who are sending an employee on assignment to South Africa for a limited duration of 4 years, and where they are required to do skills transfer during that period, and that employee is then expected to go back to their home country after they've upskilled a local South African. So really instrumental in terms of that skills transfer element of it. Then if we look at the critical skills category, there is very clear data now that it must be evidence-based. In the past, there was a lot of critique around the critical skills list published by the Department of Home Affairs, exactly what criteria had to be met in order for an occupation to be added to the critical skills list or excluded. In 2020, the Department of Higher Education and Training was asked to get involved by the Department of Home Affairs to assist with this research and the data so that we could have an evidence-based approach in terms of putting this critical skills list together. I was very deeply involved with this because Expat Web is the custodian of the annual critical skills survey. The Department of Higher Education and Training came to us to validate some of their data, and this is the 4 dimensions that are used to place an occupation on the critical skills list. So it must be essential to the national development. It must take a long time to develop the skill, so you can't develop it within 1 year. It usually needs to take 3 to 4 years to develop such a skill. So very clear criteria in order for occupation to be added onto the list. Then after that process is done and they come up with the draft list, it of course goes out for public comment. And this is where organized community, organized labor, other government departments, and of course business is then allowed to comment on the draft list that has been put together to confirm whether this is the final list that will go through to being published. If we look at that critical skills survey that we do, it is a survey amongst business to ask what are the skills that they find most difficult to recruit, and what are the roles of a foreign national in addressing that skill shortage for that business. 2 metrics that I wanted to highlight from the survey is that 79% of organizations find it difficult to recruit critical skills in South Africa, and 82% of participants perceive the work visa process in South Africa to be an inhibitor to recruit internationally. So those thresholds to employ a foreign national into South Africa on a work visa are extremely high. Because of this, and the Department of Home Affairs knowing that they are an enabler for economic development and bringing skills into the country is one of the ways within which to grow the economy and to also reduce unemployment. They have gone through a process of introducing some new legislation. This is a highlight just of some of that legislation. We've seen the remote work visa being introduced. I'll touch on that a minute later. Points-based system, which I'll touch on. There's been some waivers introduced, one particularly for the Department of Labour's involvement in a general work visa, which was seen as a huge prohibitor to bring in skills. This has been replaced by that points-based system. There's been partial waivers for the SAQA, verification of foreign qualifications requirement. And then there's been updated checklists to simplify the work visa processes. And then I thought what's relevant, very relevant for today, is also the withdrawal of a directive that was done last year where previously foreign students studying in South Africa were allowed to progress to critical skills work visas without the need for experience. That waiver was withdrawn in terms of a South Africa first approach to offering employment to graduates. This is the new points-based system that's been introduced that's replaced the old labour process. You'll see you have to reach at least 100 points in order to apply for general work visa. So the criteria has become very transparent, easy to predict, and before you even submit your application for general work visa, you should be able to self-assess to see will that visa be granted. That will of course take huge pressure off of the Department of Home Affairs for those who are submitting applications who don't qualify in the first place. And then secondly, it provides predictability for business to see whether they can bring a skill in or not. I haven't done it on today's slides because I was asked to keep it brief, but there's very few combinations within which a person can reach the 100-point minimum in order to apply for general work visa. You'll see the easiest ways if you have an NQF level 9 or 10 and you earn above 970,000 per annum, you'll get 50 points for each of those, and there's your 100 points. But if you don't meet at least one of those criteria, it becomes very difficult to round up those points. So it really has pushed the bar in terms of bringing in foreign talent. You must be very experienced, earn a lot of money, or be highly educated, or some combination of that. Oh yeah, I do have some of the scenarios. I didn't include them in the end, but I'll go through them. I won't go through them now because I've touched on them already. Good. Then in terms of critical skills data, I wanted to include this quote from the newly appointed Minister of the Department of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber. He presented at our office about 2 months ago now, and I found this quote so powerful, showing data from National Treasury that if we can attract 11,000 more skills to South Africa per annum, we currently attract about between 4,000 and 5,000 skills. So 11,000 instead, or 11,000 more, which would bring us to about 16,000 skills per annum. Our GDP growth will increase by 1.2%. To put that into perspective, our GDP growth at the moment is 0.6%, so it will triple GDP growth if we can attract more skills to South Africa. He went on to say that if we can attract more tourism, it would grow the GDP growth by a further 0.6%. So there's a very real connection between economic growth and attracting foreign skills to South Africa. Of course, one of the ways within which we can attract more tourism is that introduction of the remote work visa, which we've been lobbying for a very, very long time. It is now in October, it came into practice. There's a checklist published. You can now actually apply for a remote work visa. And the beauty of a remote work visa is, of course, that that foreign national must continue to be employed by their foreign employer, continue to be paid by their foreign employer. They are simply living in South Africa, doing their job from here, and then spending their income in the South African economy. So a real enabler for the economy in South Africa. Other countries who've implemented this have shown data that is really promising, and we're hoping that we're going to see the same in South Africa. We've definitely already seen a huge increase in inquiries in terms of this remote work visa. And then, in closing, this is my last slide, and this is from the draft National Labour Migration Policy that was published earlier this year, in February 2022, 2 years ago, which quotes data from the World Bank. And it says that key findings of the bank report based on analysis of employment and wages data shows that the results indicate that immigration has a positive impact on local employment, labor earnings, and wages. The estimated effects of immigration growth on local employment are positive and highly significant in all specifications and are similar in terms of magnitudes. They show that a 1% increase in the number of immigrants relative to the previous period raises local employment by 0.2%. So in other words, for each one foreign national that we bring in, we create 2 South African local jobs. So there needs to be some education around the attracting of skills does not take away from local employment. In fact, it creates employment for South Africans. And I'll leave you with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, come on. We are literally now at the tail end. We are literally at the tail end. Closing prayer, ne? Take note, IT. Dali, where are you? He's going to come and do the closing prayer. Can you please, I'm joking about the closing prayer, by the by. But I want him to be as brief as possible, in line with the closing prayer. Can you please give him a round of applause, please? No, stand there, my good sir. This is not a round of applause. Stand there. No, stand there. No, guys, can we please give a proper round of applause?
Hello. Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Good, it's been a long day, yeah? But I'm going to try to keep it nice, short, and sweet. I know we still have the gala dinner, where everyone's going to dress nice and fancy. So I work for a company called Take Note IT. We deal with IT security technologies from IoT, cybersecurity, as well as Cyber Excellence Academy. The discussion was really around collaboration. So there's an African proverb that says that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, exactly, give that person a buzz. Not on me, though. I don't have the company card. So the beauty about collaboration is that from our previous presentation, we do understand there's a huge skills gap as well. So how do we bridge the gap between unemployment and the skills that we don't necessarily have in the country? So for example, in cybersecurity, there's about a 4.3 million skill gap globally, meaning that we are able to actually fill this gap by empowering our own people, especially the youth within the fourth industrial revolution, to gain the experience and skills and theory in cybersecurity to ensure that we're able to fill this gap from a national level. Now, the key thing about this is that within our mission to try and fill this gap, collaboration is very key. Now, we obviously could do it ourselves and we'll go fast. But if we do it together, we go further. Now, obviously in the news, I think like once at least every single month, there's like a cybersecurity attack. So we have created a partnership with TUT and IFO to see how we can fill this gap, to see how we can also ensure that we create an environment where it's not just about you buy this and we do this, but how do we then create an environment where we work together to constantly monitor our security from digital and also physical infrastructure. So with our partnership, I'm proud to say that we are working together to build a cybersecurity SOC with TUT and IFO to be able to monitor the solution. Now, because of POP here, there's certain things and certain clients' name I can't say, but we also engage in, some people will call it GNU, but in this case, PNU, Private National Unity. How do we engage with other stakeholders who are managing other municipalities to have a knowledge share? Because what you may be good at, we may not be good at. But what we are good at, we then share the knowledge and information to better secure the country as a whole. But we can only get to this point if we collaborate, if we build the skills in-house and locally to then be able to put us in a position where we have the necessary resources to then, you know when English is running out? Where's Vodacom? Yeah, just data, please. But create the resources and skills to then get to this vision that we want to get to. So in our company, we call this aspect bridging the gap. And now if we create an industry where we have the opportunities, we have the resources, we won't necessarily be losing our talent outside, but we'll be utilizing it within our own country. So the whole aim with collaboration is how do we collaborate with our suppliers and OEMs and also our partners and potential clients to bridge the unemployment gap, to bridge the lack of skills locally. And also how do we create solutions that are meant for our country's problems. So how do we localize also these solutions and also these softwares and devices so that we can create something to put us in a position where we're fixing our own problems. Porsche and a VW are two different cars. So we have our own problems and we need to be able to be in a position where we can collaborate with one another to then build the necessary solutions for our country to grow and preferably to have less cybersecurity attacks. And also not to get emails about uncles in the UK who need money for you to get your inheritance. So that is really our aim. But the key thing about everything I've just said is about collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And I feel that we need to be more open to collaboration. As companies, we are not competitors, we are collaborators in the making. So with that being said, Andile, doing an amazing job. The stage is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. No, don't just go as yet. I'd like to call our speakers who've been speaking. Mr. Dali, please come on stage. Mr. Brian, please come on stage. Mr. Sia, please come on stage. Mr. Vusi. And Madam Marissa, the rose amongst all these thorns. Can you please give them a proper round of applause? So just as a token of our appreciation for you spending your afternoon with us, this is just a small token so that you know when you get home, you must come home bearing gifts. Usually in African culture, when you come to someone's place or you come home, you mustn't knock like this. You must knock like this, meaning that you've got a gift. So please, you must make sure that you use your knee your knee to knock. Secondly, you know, I'm very chacharach, ne? I change things as we go along. So here's what I'm going to suggest. You know, having a panel discussion now is not going to do justice. Here's what I would suggest. Usia spoke about the skill of communication. There's also the skill of effective networking. So I'm going to suggest that we hold our panel discussion outside, just to stretch our legs, to hold our panel discussion outside. They are not disappearing in the next 40 minutes. They're supposed to be here for panel discussion. So in the next 40 minutes, they are not going anywhere. So I ask you, please, make sure you grab them outside. Ne? I'll also be there. Grab me. But I'm only going to be there for 30 minutes. After that, I'm going downstairs to drink. You see, that lady who deserves the bells, which one was it? She can have a bells with me on me. Now I don't have a company credit card, but I'll buy the bells. So 30 minutes, you'll have me outside. The next 30 minutes, I'll be downstairs. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure, absolute honor directing this program, and you guys have been a fantastic crowd. I think you must give yourselves a standing ovation. This is not going to do justice. Come, give yourselves a standing ovation. Really. No, 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 guys, I promise you, we will not drink up until my demands are met. I told you this. So let's start again. And we're going to keep practicing until we get it right. Can we give ourselves a warm round of applause for being here at this time? Absolute pleasure. My name is Andy Lelungastofile. I'm looking forward to seeing you 30 minutes outside, an hour downstairs. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day further. Oh, picture moment. No, you guys can disperse and wait for us outside, if you so wish.